What haunts them most isn't your words, it's your quiet. Here's the hook, my friends. While you're healing, they're panicking, and they won't admit it. Before we dive in, press the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It helps the channel grow, and it tells the algorithm that quiet strength matters. Hey folks, imagine this. You were a lighthouse in a storm. They kept testing the waves, assuming your light would always guide them back. One day, you stop turning the light for them and keep it for ships that respect the coast. No sirens, no drama, just a calm, steady beam. Funny thing, the ocean looks the same, but their boat suddenly feels very small. That's what silence does. It doesn't chase, it doesn't argue, it simply stops renting space to chaos. Here's another picture. Think of a stage. They loved being the star of your show. Your applause kept the play alive. Then you close the curtains, no encore, no last speech. The seats are empty, and the only sound left is their own footsteps. That's when the truth gets loud. As a Stoic lesson says, strength often lives in what we withhold. Another one I love: never argue with noise. Become so calm, it has nothing to fight. Let's break a few lies right now. Lie 1. If I don't explain, they'll never understand. Truth. Explaining to someone who doesn't respect you is like pouring water into a basket. It looks busy. It changes nothing. Lie 2. Silence makes me look weak. Truth. Begging is the costume of weakness. Stillness is the uniform of power. Lie 3. They'll forget me if I don't post. Truth. People forget what's loud and needy. They remember what's rare and disciplined. A little fun note here. If they're suddenly, accidentally, liking your old photos from 2019, that's not research. That's archaeology. Let's make this simple and real. Your silence is not a game. It's a decision. You're not punishing anyone. You're protecting yourself. You're choosing early mornings over late-night loops. You're choosing clean food, clean sleep, and a clean mind. You're rebuilding your body, your schedule, your standards. You're turning your attention from convince them to become you. That shift is the whole story, because the goal isn't to make them miss you. The goal is to make you proud of yourself. Picture your phone like a doorbell. Not every ring deserves a welcome. Some rings deserve nothing. If they wanted a response, they should have respected access when they had it. You are not a vending machine for reassurance. You are a person with a life, a mission, and a calm that doesn't need witnesses to be real. When you stop explaining, their ego runs out of oxygen. And when their ego runs out of oxygen, the panic begins. Quietly, privately, exactly where it belongs. My friends, I know the hardest part is the first 72 hours, the urge to send a paragraph, the desire to just clarify, breathe, walk, lift right, drink water, keep promises to yourself, tiny ones, daily. Let your actions be your statement. Let your results be your apology to yourself for all the times you stayed when you should have walked. As one more reminder, control begins where reaction ends. Stay with me. This is where we turn silence into presence and presence into power. If this speaks to you, press like, subscribe, and drop this in the comments to lock it in your identity. I choose myself. Number 1. Why your silence hits harder than words. Control begins where reaction ends. They didn't expect your quiet, my friends. They expected noise. They expected the familiar script, long paragraphs, midnight calls, the last-ditch speech about how much they meant. But silence, that felt like someone yanked the battery out of their favorite remote. Suddenly the buttons don't work. No channel changes, no volume, just a screen reflecting their own face back at them. And that reflection is the part they can't control. Picture this. You and they are playing chess. For months, they slapped the clock, made messy moves, and grinned when you scrambled to respond. Today, you touch the clock and fold your hands. No move, no flinch, no hint. The room gets louder, even though you said nothing. That's the strange thing about silence. It turns their thoughts into the loudest sound in the room. And when thoughts get loud, fear starts whispering questions they can't answer. Are you done? Are you replacing them? Were you ever really attached, or were you simply loyal until loyalty stopped making sense? Their brain will try to protect their ego first. They'll tell themselves you're playing hard to get. They'll think you're timing a dramatic comeback. They'll think the next notification is you. But the clock keeps ticking and your side of the board stays calm. No new move, no new story, just presence. Stillness is not empty. Stillness is composed. Here comes the fear they won't admit. What if your silence isn't a tactic? What if it's an upgrade? What if you finally realize the cost of arguing for your value is your value? What if you stopped being their emergency blanket and became your own backbone? They won't say this out loud, but their habits will betray them. They'll check your last scene. They'll hover on your profile. They'll like a post from 2 years ago by accident. That's not research, it's archaeology. They're digging for proof you're still buried under their timeline. A Stoic lesson says, power often lives in what you withhold, and what you withhold right now is the fuel. You are starving the economy where their ego profited from your reaction. They used to spend a little disrespect and buy your attention at a discount. Not anymore. Prices just went up. Access just got gated. The doorbell still works, but your home now has standards. Let's break the lies that try to drag you back. Lie 1. If you don't explain, they'll never understand. Truth. Explaining to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you is self-harm dressed up as kindness. Lie 2. Silence makes you look cold. Truth. Begging makes you look available to misuse. Calm makes you look reliable to yourself. Lie 3. If you don't talk, they'll replace you. Truth. People don't replace what is rare. They replace what is clingy. Stillness is rare. Self-respect is rare. Consistency is rare. Be rare. I know what your mind is asking in the quiet. What if they think I never cared? What if they move on and never look back? What if my silence becomes the reason I lose them forever? Breathe. These questions sound like truth because fear speaks in your voice. But fear is a poor historian and a worse fortune teller. It only remembers the pain and predicts more of it. Your job isn't to debate fear. Your job is to outwork it. Movement beats rumination. A set of push-ups beats 10 what-ifs. A page in your journal beats 1,000 unsent texts. A walk in fresh air beats scrolling their feed in stale rooms. Why is this so hard? Because you spent months training your nervous system to think relief lives in their attention. Your body is used to the spike, message sent, notification received, tiny dose of calm, repeat. Now you're cutting that loop, and of course your system screams. Expect a 72-hour withdrawal from the need to clarify. Expect the urge to send one last, to be clear. Expect your thumb hovering over the keyboard like it's a life raft. It isn't. It's a hole in the boat. Patch it with routine. Patch it with breath. Patch it with reps. You're not denying yourself comfort. You're denying your anxiety its favorite snack. Here's another picture for you. Imagine your attention is a bank account. Every time you react to bait, cryptic captions, old photo likes, third-hand gossip, you make a payment to their ego. And what do you get back? Fees, overdrafts, regret statements at the end of the month. Silence is you cancelling the auto-pay. From now on, your attention funds your life, your sleep, your training, your work, your craft, your peace. If they want access, they can't pay with drama. They need to pay with respect, consistency, clarity, and time. 4 currencies most people talk about but can't afford. They might ask themselves new questions, the ones that sting. If you were always the chaser, why aren't you chasing now? If they had you guaranteed, why does your absence feel like a test they're failing? If you were weak, why is your quiet heavier than their words? They'll try to provoke a familiar version of you, the version that couldn't stand being misunderstood. But as Epictetus warned in spirit, if you wish to be strong, learn to enjoy being misunderstood. You can stand there calm as a mountain, letting the weather be weather. Mountains don't run after storms. They outlast them. You're not going silent to win them back. You're going silent to win yourself back. That's the part most people miss. This isn't a trick. This is training. You're training your mind to serve your standards. You're training your body to channel your energy. You're training your calendar to protect your priorities. You are becoming the kind of person whose presence says more than their paragraphs. When they finally feel the consequences of your absence, they'll call it panic. You'll call it graduation. Will they think you're heartless? Maybe. Will they call you stubborn? Probably. Will they tell friends you're playing games? Almost certainly. But let's be honest. If they respected you, you wouldn't need a strategy to be respected. Silence is not revenge. Silence is an audit. You're checking the books of your life and cutting what never paid you back. So hold the line. Be courteous if you cross paths, but don't be available. Smile, but don't explain. Heal loudly in private. Let your peace look expensive. Let your routine speak in clean edges, morning movement, real food, focused work, early bed. It's amazing how quickly the heart calms down when the body is treated like it matters. Do you want to show them? Fine. Show them by how you carry yourself, not by what you post. Show yourself first. Show the world second. Let them overhear your progress. A final thought for this step. The opposite of reaction isn't silence alone. It's sovereignty. You're not ignoring them. You're prioritizing you, and that choice will echo in their mind, in your results, in every room you walk into, with shoulders relaxed and eyes steady. Stay with me, my friends. This is where the fear turns into fuel and the quiet starts compounding. Drop this in the comments to lock it in and to show them, show yourself, and show the world around you. I choose myself. Number 2. The quiet mirror. They can't escape. Silence is the friend that never betrays. They're starting to feel it now, my friends, the kind of discomfort that creeps in when the noise dies down and their reflection finally gets loud. You stopped chasing, and suddenly they don't know who they are without your reaction. It's funny, isn't it? You spent months thinking you were the one who'd fall apart without them. Yet here you are, healing, rebuilding, rising quietly, while they're the ones pacing their room, trying to figure out when the script flipped. Picture this: a mirror in an empty room. For the longest time they saw themselves through your eyes, through your kindness, your patience, your forgiveness. You reflected the best parts of them, even when they didn't deserve it. But when you stepped away, the mirror didn't disappear. It just stopped showing their edited version. Now every glance they take shows them something real, their patterns, their pride, their emptiness. And that reflection? That's what drives them insane, because silence doesn't protect their illusions. It destroys them. They'll start asking themselves questions they never had the courage to face. Were they really done with me? Did I push too far? Did I mistake loyalty for weakness? Those questions echo late at night when distraction runs out. They'll open old chats, scroll through old photos, and pretend it's just curiosity. But you and I both know it's panic wearing denial's perfume. Let's be honest, folks. Most people don't miss you. They miss the control they had when you reacted. They miss being the sun around which your world orbited. They miss being the reason behind your tears and your texts. But when you remove their power to trigger emotion, you take back your throne. That's the part that terrifies them. Your silence doesn't just remove attention, it removes importance. Here's the lie they told you. If you go quiet, they won't notice. Oh, they notice. They just pretend they don't. Silence is like gravity. It's invisible, but everything falls toward it eventually. The moment you stopped reaching out, their ego started shaking. At first, they called it peace. Then they call it confusion. And eventually, they call it what it really is, loss. You may wonder, why does it take silence for them to realize my worth? Because words give them comfort, but silence gives them consequences. Every message you didn't send becomes a mirror reflecting what they broke. Every story you didn't post becomes proof that you've moved on. Every reaction you didn't give becomes a reminder that they lost access to something rare, your energy. But I get it, my friend. The hardest part isn't holding silence, it's surviving the thoughts that come with it. You might sit there wondering, what if they think I don't care? What if they forget me? That's fear talking, not truth. People don't forget authenticity. They forget the noise. They forget what's replaceable. You were never that. And if they ever do forget, that's not your loss, that's their blindness. You see, silence is misunderstood. It's not a void, it's a classroom. And in that classroom, you're not just teaching them, you're teaching yourself. You're learning that peace doesn't need an audience, that healing doesn't need witnesses, that your energy doesn't need to explain itself to anyone who couldn't recognize its value when it was free. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." Your silence is that courage. It's choosing growth over noise, dignity over drama, clarity over closure. You're not ignoring them. You're acknowledging yourself. And that's something they can't stand, because they expected you to fall apart when they left. Instead, you started falling into place. But let's not pretend this path is easy. Silence will test you. It'll whisper lies into your mind at 2 a.m. It'll tempt you to check their story, to send just one text, to see if they're thinking of you. But that's not healing. That's a habit. And habits don't die in comfort. They die in consistency. So when the urge hits, remember, silence isn't you doing nothing. It's you doing everything differently. It's discipline disguised as stillness. Think of silence as a forge. Every day you stay silent, your patience hardens, your confidence strengthens, and your emotions refine. You're not suppressing your feelings, you're sharpening them. You're learning to feel deeply without performing it publicly. You're becoming calm after the chaos, not the noise after rejection. And when they see that calm, when they notice you walking through life unbothered, glowing, laughing again, it will shake them to their core. Not because you said something, but because you didn't need to. You didn't need validation. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need closure. You became the closure. Remember, folks, they're not panicking because they lost you. They're panicking because they finally see who you were all along, someone they couldn't break, only misunderstand. Your silence is showing them what their presence never taught them. That love without respect loses access, and peace without you is chaos for them. So stay silent, stay strong. Let your energy speak the language they never bothered to learn. You don't need to post your progress. They'll feel it in the absence of your attention. You don't need to prove your power. It's already echoing through the quiet. Because when you choose silence over reaction, you choose mastery over misery. You're not losing them. You're losing the version of yourself that needed to be heard by people who never listened. Write this in the comments, my friends. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you. I choose peace. Number 3. When they realize your silence isn't a phase. Power doesn't announce itself. It simply stops explaining. My friends, the moment they realize your silence isn't temporary, everything starts to shift. At first, they brushed it off. They told themselves you were just emotional, dramatic, playing a game. They believed this quiet wouldn't last, that you'd eventually break, reach out, or post something that gave them proof they still mattered. But as the days turn into weeks, and the weeks start to look like a whole new version of your life, that's when the panic begins to crawl under their skin. It's a strange thing, watching someone who thought they had you all figured out begin to realize they never actually knew you. It's like they spent years watching a movie they thought they were starring in, only to wake up and find out they were just an extra in your story. Silence has a cruel kind of poetry to it, doesn't it? It doesn't scream, it doesn't argue. It simply reveals. It reveals who was real, who was loyal, who only stayed because you kept chasing. Picture this, folks. Imagine you were a beautiful song they got used to hearing every day. Then one day, the music stopped. The silence that followed didn't just bother them, it haunted them, because the song wasn't background noise. It was their comfort, their validation, their safety net. Now they're left sitting in the quiet, realizing the only thing they ever contributed to that melody was dissonance. And here's the part that messes with them the most. Your silence doesn't beg, it reflects. It mirrors back everything they refused to see when you were available. Every unanswered message becomes a reminder of what they lost. Every unviewed story becomes proof that they no longer have access. Every day that passes without your name lighting up their screen becomes another crack in their illusion of control. They'll check your social media and swear they don't care. They'll bring your name up in conversations just to hear someone else say it. But what they won't admit is that your silence lives rent-free in their mind. Let's break another lie right here. They once told themselves, they'll never walk away. They care too much. That's the lie that made them careless. That's the story their ego wrote to feel safe. But silence rewrites that story in bold ink. It says, they cared deeply, but not endlessly. Your stillness becomes their scoreboard. Every time they reach out and get nothing, every time they hint and get no response, every time they test your limits and find no cracks, it chips away at their confidence. They thought they broke you. They didn't. They just trained you to speak less. But let's be real, it's not easy for you either. Healing in silence feels like carrying a storm inside your chest and pretending the sky is clear. You'll have nights where your hands itch to type that message. You'll wonder if they ever think about you. You'll replay the good memories and start to miss the idea of them more than the reality of them. That's normal. It's part of detoxing from emotional chaos. But remember, every time you resist the urge to reach out, You prove to yourself that you've grown beyond their pull. Silence doesn't mean indifference. It means maturity. It means you've learned that not every emotion deserves an audience. It means you're no longer performing your pain for people who never intended to heal it. You've stopped explaining your worth and started living it. And that shift, that unspoken, grounded energy, is exactly what they can't stand, because you've become something they can't manipulate anymore: unpredictable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And that's exactly what you're doing. They acted out of ego. You're responding with evolution. They expected drama. You're giving them discipline. They played games. You walked off the field entirely. That's the kind of power that doesn't make noise. It makes history. And you know what's funny, folks? They'll start rewriting the narrative to protect their pride. They changed, they'll say. They're acting cold. They must be seeing someone else. It's their way of saying, I don't understand how someone I underestimated became untouchable. But deep down, they know it's not someone else that replaced them. It's peace. It's clear. It's you finally realizing that being unbothered is more addictive than being understood. Now here's where it gets poetic. Your silence, once mistaken for weakness, starts echoing like thunder. They feel it when they scroll through your profile and see nothing. They feel it when mutual friends say you seem happier. They feel it when they realize that you've started glowing, not because of revenge, but because of release. You're not shining to prove them wrong. You're shining because you finally dropped the weight they put on you. But don't think for a second, they're not trying to fight that feeling. They'll throw bait your way: indirect posts, jealousy plays, half-hearted apologies. The goal? To get a reaction. Because as long as you react, they can still pretend they matter. Don't take the bait, my friends. Your silence is the lesson, your peace is the proof. The moment you respond, you turn their panic into reassurance. The moment you stay still, you turn their ego into reflection. So if you ever find yourself tempted to break the silence, ask yourself one question. What am I hoping to hear that I can't give myself? Because the truth is, closure is not a message, it's a mindset. You don't need their apology to heal. You need your consistency to prove you're done bleeding for people who only clapped when you broke. The hard truth. They're not just missing you, they're mourning the control they had over you. And the more you grow in your silence, the more that loss multiplies. Their panic isn't about love. It's about losing access to the energy that made them feel significant. And that's not your responsibility to fix. So hold your silence like armor. Let it speak for you. Let it echo through every decision you make. Because silence doesn't just protect you, it exposes them. It exposes their intentions, their weaknesses, and their inability to exist without validation. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Stay gone. Write this in the comments to anchor your power, my friends. Show them, show yourself, and show the world around you. I choose calm over chaos. Number 4. When your silence starts to rewire their mind. Sometimes the loudest truth is spoken in silence. My friends, this is the part they never saw coming. When your silence stretches long enough, something inside their mind begins to bend. At first, they thought they could predict you like every other time before. They thought you'd reach out, just like you always did. They counted on your kindness being stronger than your self-respect. But the more days pass without your name appearing in their inbox, the more their brain begins to glitch. You've gone from being predictable to being a mystery, and that drives their ego insane. Imagine a song they used to skip because they heard it too often. Now that it's gone, they can't stop humming it. That's what silence does. It turns the familiar into the forbidden. Every moment of peace you're having now echoes in their mind as chaos. It's like they're standing outside a house they used to have keys to, watching the lights glow from the window, realizing someone else might be sitting at the table where they once sat. That's when it hits them. Your silence isn't waiting, it's moving on. The human mind hates unanswered questions, and your silence, it's one giant question mark they can't solve. Every time they unlock their phone, they hope for your message. When it doesn't come, their imagination starts working overtime. What if they're happier without me? What if they've finally met someone who values them? What if they stopped loving me completely? These thoughts don't whisper, they scream, and the irony is, you didn't have to lift a finger. You didn't have to block, argue, or prove. You simply did nothing, and your absence became the loudest alarm they've ever heard. Let's break a lie right here. They used to say, "You care too much, you'll always come back." No, you cared deeply, but you learned where to stop pouring. That's the difference between attachment and awareness. When you stop fighting for a place in someone's life, you force them to face the truth about what they did to lose it. Your silence turns into their mirror, and mirrors never lie. But here's the truth, my friends. This stage isn't just about them. It's also about you. Your silence is doing something powerful inside your own mind, too. You're teaching yourself how to live without constant validation. You're proving that peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from understanding yourself. Every day you stay quiet is like lifting a new weight in the gym of emotional control. It burns at first. It's uncomfortable. But with every rep, your resilience grows stronger. You might still feel that pull sometimes, the urge to check, to send a quick message, to see if they're thinking of you. That's your brain craving an old pattern. Don't judge it. Just don't feed it. Replace it. When the urge hits, do something that pulls you into your body. Go for a walk. Lift something heavy. Write something honest. Because healing isn't just about cutting contact. It's about creating a life that no longer revolves around someone else's absence. Now let's talk about what's really happening inside their head. Their nervous system is panicking. Your silence removed their emotional pacifier. When you stopped reacting, you stopped giving their ego its daily dose of reassurance. And addiction, whether to validation or control, always comes with withdrawal. They'll scroll through your photos, trying to convince themselves you look the same. But what unsettles them isn't what they see. It's what they don't see. No sadness. No pleading. No signs of weakness. Just stillness. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." You're living that truth now, and it's burning them slowly. Because your silence doesn't argue, it reveals, it shows who's grown and who's still stuck in the same emotional loop. You've moved from reaction to reflection, from panic to peace. And they can feel that shift in their bones, even if they'll never admit it out loud. They'll start testing you soon, don't doubt it. A random "hey," a nostalgic memory, a compliment wrapped in curiosity. They'll pretend it's casual, but it's calculated. They want to know if the old you still lives in there, the one who would drop everything to reply. But this version of you, this one doesn't chase crumbs anymore, because once you learn how much peace costs, you stop bargaining with chaos. They'll tell themselves stories to make sense of it. They must be seeing someone new. They're just trying to make me jealous. They'll come around eventually. These are ego safety mechanisms. They'd rather believe you're busy than believe you're done. But deep down, a quiet dread starts forming. The fear that maybe your silence isn't a phase, but a permanent upgrade. Here's what you need to remember. You're not doing this to manipulate them. You're doing this to master yourself. You're not holding silence to cause pain. You're holding silence to prevent pain. From repeating the same cycle, from reopening old wounds, from betraying your peace again, just to prove your heart was real. That's not coldness, that's clarity. And yes, my friends, silence rewires both of you. It rewires them to respect what they once took for granted. It rewires you to stop bleeding for people who never brought a bandage. It takes what used to hurt and turns it into discipline. It turns reaction into reflection. It turns heartbreak into high ground. That's dark psychology at its core, when the absence of a reaction becomes the most haunting presence in their life. So hold that silence, protect it like gold. Don't rush to fill the space just because the noise feels uncomfortable. Growth always feels awkward before it feels powerful, because eventually your silence won't just rewire their mind, it will reprogram your own. It'll remind you that you were never waiting for them to wake up, you were waking up yourself. Stay with me, my friends. The next stage, that's when your silence starts to change them, and by then you'll realize you've already changed too. Drop this in the comments to remind yourself and the world around you. I choose discipline over drama. Number 5. When they start to feel the weight of regret. Regret doesn't knock, it seeps in through the cracks of silence. My friends, this is the turning point. This is where your absence begins to echo in their mind louder than your presence ever did. They tried to stay strong. They told themselves they were fine. They convinced their friends that they didn't care, that you'd come running back just like before. But now, that silence, the one they thought was your weakness, has become their haunting soundtrack. Every day that goes by without your voice, your name, your reaction, eats away at their certainty. They're no longer confident, they're conflicted. Picture this. They're scrolling late at night, half distracted, half haunted. They see a song you once shared, a picture from a place you both loved, or a memory that sneaks in uninvited, and suddenly it hits them. The warmth they took for granted is gone. The comfort they mocked is missing. The attention they relied on is no longer there to feed their ego. That's when the quiet starts talking. It whispers truths their pride can't handle. Maybe they really moved on. Maybe I wasn't as special as I thought. Maybe I was the one who was replaceable all along. And that's the cruel beauty of silence, my friends. It doesn't attack, it reveals. It lets time do the teaching that words never could. Every moment they spend trying to distract themselves from you becomes another reminder that distraction isn't healing. They'll go out, they'll laugh, they'll post pictures pretending they've leveled up, but deep down, that emptiness remains, because silence creates something words never could: space. And in that space, truth grows like a weed through the cracks of denial. They'll start remembering small things, your tone, your patience, your loyalty, and memory, when mixed with guilt, becomes poison. They'll scroll through your old messages, rereading the times you begged them to communicate, to care, to meet you halfway, and then that same silence they once mocked becomes the punishment they can't escape. Because now it's not you waiting on their reply, it's them waiting on yours. The roles have reversed and they can't stand it. Let's break another lie while we're here. They told themselves they'll never move on, they're too emotional. But being emotional doesn't mean being weak. It means you felt deeply. It means you cared enough to try. And once you learned that your love wasn't being respected, you did what most people can't. You walked away quietly. That's not emotional chaos, that's emotional mastery. You didn't slam the door, you simply stopped opening it. You didn't announce your departure, you just stopped showing up to conversations that drained your soul. Now, they're the ones haunted by the silence they once celebrated. And here's the part that stings most. They can't blame anyone but themselves. They replay the arguments, the moments they ignored your pain, the jokes they made at your expense, and they finally see what you were trying to show them all along. But it's too late. Silence has already done its job. It's turned their ego into empathy and their pride into pain. I know what you're thinking, my friends. You wonder if they'll ever apologize, if they'll ever come back changed. You wonder if they finally realize what they lost. Maybe they do, but that's not your focus anymore. Because silence doesn't just reprogram their mind, it rewires yours. It teaches you the art of emotional minimalism. You stop giving energy where it's not respected. You stop chasing closure in conversations that only reopen old wounds. You start realizing that sometimes the real win isn't getting them back, it's never going back. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That's the lesson your silence is teaching both of you. You're mastering your emotions while they're being mastered by theirs. You're moving forward while they're trapped, replaying the past. And here's the irony. They thought walking away from you would give them peace. Instead, it gave them a mirror. One that reflects every decision that led them to lose someone who genuinely cared. They'll try to reach out, not always to reconcile, but to relieve their guilt. A "hey stranger," a random memory, an emoji that means nothing but everything at the same time. That's not love. It's curiosity mixed with regret. It's their way of checking if the door they closed is still unlocked. But you, my friend, you've changed the locks. You've built walls, not out of bitterness, but out of boundaries. And the view from where you stand now, it's clearer than ever. Because silence doesn't just end a connection, it transforms it. It shifts the dynamic forever. You're no longer the one begging to be understood. You're the one who became the mystery they can't solve. You're no longer the one waiting to be chosen. You're the one others now aspire to deserve. Your silence turned you from an option into an enigma. So let them feel that silence. Let them drown in the echoes of what they lost. You don't have to prove your worth anymore. It's written in the calm that replaced your chaos. You don't have to explain your peace. It speaks for itself. Because one day they'll realize that your silence wasn't cruelty. It was clear. It wasn't punishment. It was power. My friends, you're not walking away to teach them a lesson. You're walking away because you finally learned yours. Stay steady, stay still. Let your calm speak louder than their confusion, because those who once underestimated your silence will one day call it your greatest strength. Drop this in the comments to seal it in your story and show them, show yourself, show the world around you. I choose peace over pain. Number 6. When your silence becomes their consequence. Never waste words on people who deserve your absence. My friends, this is where everything changes. This is where your silence stops being just a response and starts becoming a reality they can't escape. They thought this was a waiting game. They thought you were just trying to prove a point. But time has a way of revealing who was serious and who was just pretending. And when the days turn into weeks and the weeks begin to stretch into months, your silence starts to carry weight. It becomes undeniable. It becomes final. At first, they thought they were winning. They believed your quiet was hesitation, not strength. They assumed you'd cave once you realized they weren't chasing you, but as time passes, their confidence begins to rot. That's the power of silence. It doesn't break people instantly. It breaks them slowly. One overthought, one sleepless night, one replayed memory at a time. Picture this. They're out with friends, laughing, pretending to have moved on. But then something small happens. A song, a phrase, a scent, and suddenly you're back in their mind. Uninvited, they'll hide it. They'll brush it off, but deep down, it stings. Because they didn't think your absence would last this long. They thought you'd reach out to fix it, to explain, to smooth things over like always, but instead, you gave them silence. And that silence? It feels like judgment. It feels like a sentence they can't appeal. That's what makes silence so dangerous. It doesn't argue, it exposes, it reveals who depended on whose energy. It shows who needed validation to feel powerful. And when you stop feeding that cycle, their whole sense of control starts to collapse. You didn't destroy them with anger, you dismantled them with peace. Let's break the biggest lie they ever told themselves. They'll come back eventually. That's the lie they repeated to keep their ego comfortable. But here's the truth. They're realizing the old version of you no longer exists. The one who begged for understanding, who explained every emotion, who accepted crumbs and called it love. That person is gone, and they'll look for you in others, but they won't find you. Because your energy wasn't common. It was custom-built from loyalty, care, and patience. You gave them something pure, and they lost it thinking it would wait. Now, they'll start doing what desperate people do. They'll test the locks. They'll send a casual "hey" or a memory-laced message. They might post something that feels familiar, just enough bait to see if you'll bite. But your silence has taught you something powerful. Attention is currency, and you're done giving out free loans. They don't get access just because they're curious. They have to earn peace they once took for granted. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not getting even, you're getting elevated. You're not trying to make them miss you, you're making them face themselves. Your silence is the mirror showing them what life feels like without the person who gave it meaning. It's not revenge, it's reflection. You might wonder, will they ever change? Will they ever truly regret it? Maybe. But that's not your story anymore. The story now is you, the version of you that no longer needs closure to heal, the version that no longer performs pain for sympathy. The version that knows peace isn't found in explaining, it's found in detaching. You've outgrown the version of yourself that begged for clarity from people who only gave you confusion. And here's something you need to know, my friends. When they finally break, that's not the moment you win. The real victory is that by the time they do, you no longer need them to. You've outgrown the part of you that needed their recognition. You've moved from chasing love to embodying peace. You've learned to replace reaction with reflection, to replace anxiety with acceptance, and to replace attachment with alignment. That's what makes your silence so unshakable. It's no longer a tactic, it's a transformation. They'll start telling people they changed, and they'll be right. But what they'll never understand is that you didn't change for anyone. You returned to yourself. You stopped being the version of you that accepted disrespect as love. You stopped being the version that thought explaining was the same as being understood. You stopped being the version that thought loyalty was enough to fix indifference. That's not change, that's evolution. Your silence has become the consequence of their behavior. It's the quiet sentence that says, "I learned my worth." And it's louder than any argument could ever be, because silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It doesn't beg, it builds. It doesn't chase, it chooses. It doesn't prove, it protects. So let them feel it, let them wonder, let them regret. Because your absence isn't punishment, it's peace. It's the natural result of someone who decided to stop bleeding for people who never brought bandages. The moment you chose silence, you didn't lose them. You found yourself. And I want you to remember this. People panic when they realize you're not mad. You're done. Anger still means there's fire left. But silence means ashes, and ashes mean rebirth. So, my friends, as you walk through this quiet chapter, hold your head high. Let your peace be your proof. Let your stillness speak louder than their explanations. You don't need closure. You are the closure. You don't need to prove your worth. It's written in your calm. And when they finally understand what they lost, it won't be your problem. It'll be their punishment. Because one day they'll look for you in every smile, every message, every connection, and they'll only find echoes of the peace you left behind. That's not cruelty. That's karma. That's clarity. So if you're hearing this right now, take this as your reminder. Your silence is sacred. Protect it, honor it, live in it, and never again explain your value to someone who made you question it. If this message hits home, if it reminds you of your strength and your worth, then do this for me. Press that like button, share this video with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you never forget what power sounds like when it's quiet. And before you go, write this in the comments to lock it into your reality and show them, show yourself, and show the world around you. I choose peace. I choose power. I choose myself.